We just got another look at Hellblade 2 at the Game Awards, and unsurprisingly the game looks incredible. And another unsurprising reality of anything Xbox looking good is PlayStation fanboys crying about it. At the rate these fanboys are going, they'll turn the entire earth into salt. The amount of copium they are devouring should have killed them by now, although I have a feeling they've developed an immunity to it, causing them to overproduce Sony pony salt, which, put it this way, is absolutely great news for myself and anyone addicted to Sony pony salt like all of you definitely are. Now, none of the Hellblade 2 gameplay trailer was CGI, and a lot of it technically wasn't gameplay, which is something the ponies are latching onto in order to say Forbidden West or any PlayStation exclusive is better. Even though PlayStation doesn't really have a competitor to Hellblade, they don't have a super dark and gloomy game, which means them comparing Forbidden West to it is just incredibly moronic, and I'm sure none of you are surprised by that. But to try and call out Microsoft for quote-unquote not having lots of gameplay in their gameplay trailer is highly ironic, considering that is also the exact same thing Sony did in their God of War Ragnarok gameplay trailer. I love to be the one to break it to people, but gameplay doesn't always look great to watch. A perfect example of this is the Guardians of the Galaxy game. It's fun as fuck to play, however watching gameplay of it is certainly painful. So companies don't use pure gameplay for all of their gameplay trailers, because if you somehow forgot, trailers are meant to sell you on games, and if a game's gameplay isn't fun to watch but is fun to play, that's incredibly hard to do when purely using gameplay. Hence gameplay trailers like the God of War Ragnarok one and Hellblade 2's trailer becoming more and more prevalent. So with that explanation out of the way, let's get into the Sony pony salt. Last of Us 2 looks better than Hellblade 2 on Xbox Series X. That's the tweet, love heart eyes emoji. You've got to love how often PlayStation fanboys will purposefully downgrade the resolution of Xbox games and then compare them to high-res images of PlayStation games, obviously making one look better than the other, although to be honest, Hellblade 2 still looks better than The Last of Us 2 in that comparison, even after they've almost definitely purposely downgraded the resolution of the Hellblade 2 screenshot. You've got to be an incredibly sad individual to be doing this shit, to be honest. I don't know how anyone ends up as completely and utterly pathetic as this. It takes a certain level of not only immaturity but also brain damage to actually give a shit if one game looks graphically better than another. Uncharted The Lost Legacy PS4 1.8 teraflops, Hellblade 2 Xbox Series X 12 teraflops. Now you're probably wondering what's wrong with this graphics comparison. Well, the Uncharted image isn't from the PS4 version of the game, it's from the PS5 and PC remaster trailer. Yeah, the dumbass forgot to check where the screenshot was from, and instead of comparing a 1.8 teraflop machine to a 12 teraflop machine, he compared the PS5 to the Xbox Series X. I still have no idea why console players are so goddamn obsessed with teraflops either, since every generation has proven that teraflops are not a good measurement of a system's capabilities in the slightest. Just look at Google Stadia. In terms of teraflops, it's in between the Series X plus PS5, and yet it is on par in most games with a base PS4. In no world are teraflops a legitimate measurement of a system's capabilities. Hellblade looks better, so what's your point? The point is a 5-year-old game from last gen looks just as good as next gen game for the world's most powerful console, eats console for breakfast, 12 tera shit of power. Your point not only doesn't make any sense because that isn't a screenshot of the PS4 version, but also doesn't make sense due to the simple fact they are games from entirely different genres and entirely different art styles. It's like me comparing Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart to Halo Infinite. It makes zero sense. But then again, I am expecting way too much logic from PlayStation fanboys. A game doesn't have to outclass games that frankly aren't even its competition, since they aren't in the same genre, in order to look good. There's no point obsessing over what console games look graphically better. Both consoles have great looking games, and Hellblade 2 right now does look like it has better visuals than most PlayStation exclusives, which isn't a fucking bad thing. All it means is that there's a new game coming out that looks impressive. This is the most fair video comparison for Horizon Forbidden West and Hellblade 2 I've seen so far. Xbox still get mad if I say it's scripted walking sim showcase and linear sequence with hardly any gameplay. Gameplay comparison only, no cutscene. Hashtag PS5, hashtag Xbox Series X, hashtag Hellblade 2. There is no such thing as a fair comparison between Hellblade 2 and Horizon Forbidden West. They have completely different art styles and are in completely different genres, and both games in the terrible comparison you show look on par with each other. Neither one looks wildly better or worse than the other. An incredibly simple idea that you clearly wouldn't be able to wrap your head around. I really will never understand this delusional idea PlayStation fanboys have that everything looks worse than what PlayStation is putting out, and that nothing is allowed to look better or even remotely on par with their exclusives. Although these people are absolutely hilarious hilarious in the sense they're completely inept when it comes to everything. At the same time, I have no idea how these motherfuckers are functioning members of society in the real world. If I met anyone like these people in real life, I sure as hell wouldn't tolerate their bullshit, and I don't know anyone who would. New Hellblade 2 footage shows major downgrade, no ray tracing and low resolution textures, hashtag Game Awards. Once again, another PlayStation fanboy who doesn't understand basic things like lighting and environments. One is very obviously in a lit up environment and the other is in a dark plus dingy environment. Now anyone with two brain cells would be able to figure out that those two scenarios would produce two entirely different outcomes. I know I talk a lot about Sony ponies needing to touch some grass, but this is a prime example of exactly that. If this guy walked outside instead of sitting inside tweeting all day, he'd be able to understand lighting, because if he doesn't know, which at this point it wouldn't surprise me, the sun exists. And I'm sure in Hellblade 2 there's going to be a sun changing the lighting in the world dynamically, like 99% of games, and like the real world, where if you again didn't know this, we move around a star causing the day and night cycle, you'd see if you ever went outside. How anyone can think those textures look low resolution as well is beyond me. Which one is next gen only and which one is cross gen? And have we seen gameplay of the PS4 version for Horizon Forbidden West? No, we haven't. We've only seen the PS5 version, so we have no idea if the PS4 version will be as good looking as the PS5 version, which I'm willing to bet it won't be. You know, since there's a major difference in raw power between last gen and current gen. Also, remember when PlayStation fanboys were constantly crying about Sony making games cross gen? I guess that died off just as quickly as every other single argument they make once they can flip flop and attempt to mock Xbox. I mean, for God's sake, Sony ponies really need to
keep that same energy.
Doesn't Hellblade have to run on the Series S and mid-range PCs too? So it also can't reach its true graphic potential. Oh my god, this shit is beyond painful to read. In an attempt to back up Saltiest Gaming's argument, the guy fucking disproved it. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried. In the same logic, Horizon Forbidden West can't reach its true potential because it needs to run on a PS4 and PC as well. Since if you guys are aware, Nvidia leaked the fact that God of War 2018 was coming to PC, and inside that leak, tons of PlayStation exclusives including Horizon Forbidden West were leaked for PC. So I guess in their logic, Forbidden West won't ever reach its full potential because it has to run on last gen hardware and on mid-range PCs. You can see details like paint cracking in the cross-gen game. Of course, King Thrash is volcanoing in an attempt to damage control for their precious box of plastic. One of those images is pre-rendered and the other is a straight grab from a compressed video on YouTube. Not exactly comparable. And the most hilarious part about this is that Hellblade in that comparison still looks better. Instead of reusing the same highly compressed image that every PlayStation fanboy is latching onto, maybe use this one. Unless you want to keep going with your childish narratives that only the lowest common denominator would actually fall for, because that image I just showed alone shatters your entire point here. Horizon, Hellblade doesn't look good when you zoom in and take a careful look. Hellblade is dark, blurry, and everything is so scripted and on rails. Who the fuck is going to be unironically getting up close and personal with their TV to look at the cracks on a character's face, my guy? And the reason Hellblade is blurry in that image is because they took a screenshot of a trailer with a resolution on YouTube set lower than 4K. And since when was a game being dark something negative? That's one of the weirdest complaints I've heard in a while, and I hear a hell of a lot of weird complaints about video games now. Unfortunately, I am about to overdose on Sony Pony Salt, which means we have finally come to the end of my video. So with all that being said, please don't forget to do all the things YouTubers love to beg you to do, aka check out my Discord server, follow me on Twitter, as well as like, comment and subscribe. So I'll see you all in the next video.